Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and I'm very pleased to have with me Thomas McCarthy-Howe of Strolid. Thomas, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, first of all, a big thank you as we wrap up the first ever vCon conference, vCon 2025.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sponsoring it, for being a principal sponsor, and effectively being a host here in beautiful Hyannisport.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to have you.
So, as we were literally just talking about it, I think Cape Cod is a fine place to have this conference. I hope you do it again.
Oh, thank you.
It's for anybody who's if this happens again, it's an easy peasy drive out of Boston, and it's very pretty.
I appreciate that. It's on the Cape. We've had visitors here for as long as we've had Cape Cod. So having visitors and coming down to the Cape and enjoying it is really typical. But having a technology conference on the Cape is not. And having it in my own backyard, I'm a resident of Barnstable, was just really special for me. And I felt really privileged to have, most of the people, not all the people, but most of the people who came down were really deep, dear friends. And that was really beautiful for me, frankly.
Well, Tom, you guys are actually a company in the automotive industry. You serve automotive dealers. Yeah. What the heck are you doing hosting a vCon conference with some telecom guys?
Yeah, right. It's a good question. So we work for Strolid, and Strolid is in the automotive space, and we are in the front end of the sales process. We help people who fill out forms for car leads to get them into the showrooms, which has not a thing to do with technology until it did. And so one of the hidden things about Strolid is Strolid stands for strong and solid, and strong process, solid results. And we're very much a team-based organization, and we take that mission to heart. And so when I'm the CTO, I lead the engineering team. We decided that there was really important things we could do with technology to help our customers and our customers' customers, and that's where all this technology comes from. And we feel proud to be able to share that and bring that to the rest of the world. And so us sponsoring this conference is simply another motion for Strolid to just really be as good as we can be, and really set the pace for ourselves.
Tom, we've had a remarkable turnout. This is, of course, the summit. Everyone should know this is not a 30,000 person event. This was a strategic event with thought leaders, with inventors, with heads of companies.
Amazing people.
But it's kind of amazing. Like every presentation, every person you talked to was every conversation.
It was thick. Yeah, it was a very, 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 very but the quality of the people who came to be with us was incredibly good, but also diverse. We had a lot of different people from a lot of different areas coming to talk about how they were using vCons in their own lives and how they had planned to do it. And just that diversity of opinion this early on in a market was, I think, something that was notable and exhausting too. I mean, I had a couple moments at the microphone, but I didn't have most of them. And there were a lot of really smart people doing a lot of smart things. I learned a lot. That's all I do all day. And I learned a lot at this conference just by listening to the others who are working hard at it.
For people that were not able to come to this conference, what do you think, maybe give me a couple of takeaways in terms of the promise of vCon, and maybe some thoughts on where even to get started if you're looking at, what's it all about?
Yeah, so the promise of vCon is that before now, when we dealt with the data that was contained in a conversation between me and you or whatever it happened to be, we had no structured way of representing that data. So that gave us, because we didn't have a structured way of representing it, we couldn't make independent tools that would analyze them. It was very difficult. But when you have a standard container for a conversation, you can build standard tools to analyze, share, and protect them. And that turns that conversation into real actionable data, not because you have new data in it, but because more than you and more than your tools that you have can help to analyze it. And that's really the spark that's bringing this. because one of the, we'll just take the voice of the customer for a second. Just think about the state of the art today. The voice of the customer is things that you would hear in the contact center, or if you did surveys. If you were the CEO, if you were head of product, it's very difficult for you to actually be able to listen to your customers, never mind at scale. But when you have a structured standard container like a vCon, then you can transport that conversation into other parts of your business where they wouldn't normally listen to the customer. So it really makes the voice of the customer travel, and it travels not only in the enterprise, but across the enterprises for service providers who can provide services like fraud detection or analysis or for whatever purpose they may have. It's really a step up from what we had before. Maybe even on the order of, imagine the written language. Before that, everything was verbal, but you couldn't write it down, analyze it, share it, transport it. But with written language, you now can. And now with the vCon, you can do that digitally.
So there's different levels to this. And I put on the screen while we're talking here, hearing the voice of the customer. I imagine most enterprises think that they already do that, feel that they have a history of that.
Yeah, they
but
do.
You're saying, I mean, you guys, after all, are frontline business with customers making buy automobiles like the second biggest
yes,
purchase you ever made.
No, it's the second biggest purchase they're going to make, and a point of great anxiety, and really a place where advice is needed by most people. And just even, it's not like you can, unless you have to be in the automotive space. There's
I need this car, can I afford this car?
Very expertise driven, yeah. And I would say that a lot of companies think they listen to the customer. I gotta say, it was shocking to me when we actually started listening to the voice of the customer, in terms of using vCons, that we realized we hadn't before. What you realize, what was happening was you get an estimate of what the customer said, and you don't get an estimate of what the customer said. You get an estimate of what the customer said some small fraction of the time. Once you're able to actually capture the conversations in this format, you always hear all the things your customers say all the time. And some of those things are very, very important. And for reasons that you may not know, and I think this is one of the biggest deals about vCons, is the dark operational data that they reveal. Here's an example in the automotive space. You may think that I want to listen to the customer because I want to hear when they're angry or upset, and we did too. And we imagine that they would be angry or upset because we did a bad job, or we were rude, or whatever it happened to have been. But what we find is that actually people are angry and upset for reasons we had no idea about. Like, they're angry and upset because they don't want to spend $100 on an oil change. They're angry and upset because they drove half an hour to see a car that wasn't there. Why did that happen? Well, because we were advertising a car that we had already sold. And so these are the kinds of customer experience problems that this surfaces. Prior to this, a customer experience problem was, I wish I didn't have to call you. I wish I could text you, or I don't want to wait on hold for a few minutes. These are the typical customer experience problems that we deal with. And we're actually dealing with the actual experience of the customer holistically and in the whole. And I'm not sure if being able to text or call or not be on hold would have solved the problem of, I drove a half an hour to see a car that wasn't there.
Right. And that's a very point, especially in this day and age when the information should be easily available. That must drive people crazy.
Well, it does. And that also actually puts the other side of the vCon in bright light. So because we made it much easier to see all the conversations, we have it now is even more urgent for us to be ethical and in control of the ways in which we record conversations, we gather consent, and that we manage the privacy of the conversations. And the big technical thing about a vCon is it allows you to do that at scale and with systems, so that you can automate the management of personal information and really treat the customer's data with the respect it deserves. So the other half of a vCon is it gives us an opportunity to be compliant to regulations and to protect reputations at scale.
Following along the other podcast that we did with Strolid, which was with Matt Watson.
Yeah.
Matt discussed a lot about the, and I wasn't aware of this, that the manufacturers, which of course play a huge role, had started to understand that sometimes, just from lack of training and other issues, the dealers weren't always conveying the message that the manufacturers were hoping.
Oh, that's
And
right.
there would
Yeah,
be like inconsistent information, or
correct.
someone didn't know about a ad that ran over the weekend
Yeah.
about a sale or something like that.
That's correct. And so in the automotive market, and I'm sure in other markets as well, that's really a thing, because we have 18 major manufacturers in the United States. They have brands and reputations they're trying to protect, and the dealerships don't work for them.
Right.
The dealerships have independent companies that resell for them. So there's a tension between that thing. And we've, at Strolid, again, coming back to who we are and why we're doing it. So we believe, again, strong and solid, and we're a transparent company. So by implementing these systems, our customers, who are actually the people who own the car stores, the dealerships themselves, they're able to understand and see exactly what we do in real time, the ultimate transparency. That's a big deal for us.
And so, what applies here in this market can be applied in other markets. That's really one of the big lessons of this week.
Yes, that's exactly right. And as you see, I've been in the telecom market my whole life. My father was in the market, so I grew up in the market. And what I thought when I came to Strolid after my last telecom startup, was it was a perfect sandbox, because a car store is a good proxy for a store. And a car store, a dealership, they're selling something to a person, and there's an interchange, and there's this sales cycle, and there's stuff. And we designed it not for the automotive market, but for the market. And for us, the automotive market, inside the engineering team, we knew this was a durable problem that was bigger than Strolid, and we decided to take on that challenge.
Well, Thomas, thank you very much indeed for joining me today. We could go on. This would be great, but I think I want to thank you again for hosting the vCon event.
Thank you, Doug.
I sure hope we are able to do this again, and I know we're going to have further conversations. Yeah. Where can we learn more about Strolid?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find us at strolid.com. We have a new tech site that we've got called strolid.ai. So if you're interested in some of our tech offerings, if you're interested in the vCon standard itself, it's an IATF working group. So you can go to iatf.org and learn more about those great technologists who are developing it. And if you're an implementer and you want to get more information about the open source or how to work it, go to conserver.io. Conserver is one of the fundamental pieces of the vCon ecosystem, and conserver.io gives you all the information you need to know to get started.
Thomas, thank you very much indeed. Thank you again for the event too.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being there.